This episode of PTG is brought to you by Transfuse, the hydration, immunity, and mental clarity booster, and Transcend nootropics. And with just one serving of Transfuse, it is equal to 4 of the competitors in one. And there is no other formula as potent as Transfuse on the market. And you are all encouraged to go and compare the formulas with any other products on the market and see for yourself just how amazing it is. Transfuse uses all natural flavors, colors, and sweeteners, and there's no proprietary blends, so you know exactly every milligram of each ingredient you are consuming. This formula was created to optimize your mind, body, and immunity, and Transfuse can be used as a high-performance multiplier for working out and any competitive sports or demanding lifestyles. Also, be sure to get your hands on the Transcend, which is a nootropic formula that improves cognitive function and can replace your morning coffee, pre-workouts, energy drinks, or energy shots. The formula contains lion's mane, alpha GPC, teacrine, and dynamin. Transcend was created based off of research studies to help with cognitive control and mental function. So get your hands on some Transcend and some Transfuse today. Head on over to transfuseusa.com. Use code PLAYTHEGAME for 10% off and sign up for monthly delivery service for an additional 10% off to take advantage of 20% off these products altogether right now. Head on over there, support PTG. We appreciate you, and we'll see you in the show. This episode is brought to you by Lone Wolf Paintball. They are an amazing online supplier and have been around since the beginning of the game as Michigan's premier paintball field and paintball supplier since 1987. They are rapidly expanding into the online retail space and supplying everything you need to be the best paintball player you can be. They have got it all. Head over to lonewolfpaintball.com and shop all of your favorite brands. And they also boast amazing customer service and will have this out to you with same-day shipping, which is amazing. It's always nice to know that your stuff is on its way immediately so you can start to use it that very next weekend of play. Check out their YouTube, Lone Wolf Paintball, and their Instagram at Lone Wolf PB, and stay up to date with all of their deals and sales. Play the Game podcast is immensely honored to have them on board, and we cannot wait for you guys to check out lonewolfpaintball.com and become a part of their community. This episode of PTG Podcast is brought to you by the new HK Army UV Glow Charging Sonic Loader and HK Army Glow in the Dark Paintballs. Everybody, it is time to light up the night sky with one of the most exciting paintball experiences you will ever have. There are 7 integrated UV LED lights in the new UV Glow Charging Sonic Loader that will illuminate the HK Army glow-in-the-dark paintballs and have them supercharged for non-stop nightball fun. You do not know what you are missing out on until you go enjoy some nightball with some friends and shoot these instant tracers downfield with HK Army's glow-in-the-dark paintballs that provide precision accuracy, vibrant glow fill, and are all available right now on hkarmy.com. Do yourself a favor, head on over to hkarmy.com and get the new HK UV Sonic Loader and glow-in-the-dark paintballs right now exclusively at HK Army. Log in, support, have fun, and we'll see you on the field. Tell them PTG sent you.
What's going on, PTG Nation? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This episode, we have one of the legends from across the pond, longtime paintball patron, Ainsley Baddeley, owner of Lucky 15s and CPPS Paintball. It's where the NXL Europe host their second event of the season on the show. Ainsley's been around for a very long time and is a driving force, massive driving force in paintball over in the UK, and really does a fantastic job just contributing to the growth of the sport, and his passion for the game is undeniable. So without further ado, we're going to hop in the show.
That was an insane inside move by Marcelo Margot. Great communication.
And the crowd starts chanting Harmon.
Great shot by all the guys, though. Tyler Harmon saved that game.
He came out with 2 wins. Marcelo Margot was on fire.
What's going on, everybody? We have the one and only Ainsley Baddeley, owner of Lucky 15s and CPPS out in England, one of the premier professional paintball teams in European paintball, and honestly, one of the best fields that I've ever been to. Ainsley, what's happening, brother?
Hey, bud. Good to be here.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, it's about time.
Yeah, big intro there. I don't know if all that's true, but yes.
Which part? Which part's not true?
all of the above. You know?
All of the above.
We'll get into it. We'll get into it. So.
Okay.
No way.
Nice. Well, yeah, Ainsley, what's happening, man? How are things on the other side of the pond?
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, as you know, you guys know that you played a bit in Europe this year, so you know what things are going down over here. But in England, at least, things are pretty good. So at my field, at our league, the numbers are growing since COVID. Like they dropped a little during COVID, but they're back up again now. And it's more at the bottom end, which is really good. So people are coming into the sport, and whether that's a few different things that are happening, you know, in the UK or in Europe is one thing or another. Maybe we'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, things are good. Things are good.
Yeah, Ainsley, I would like to touch on that a little bit because it seems like some of the other leagues, especially the regional ones in Europe, have not done well since COVID. And it seems like paintball's taken a pretty big hit over there in regards to, you know, that like the DPL was one of the biggest leagues in the world at one point. Can you kind of touch on that, why you think that is and if things are improving or, you know?
I think they are in Germany. I think one big thing in England, at least, was when COVID happened. I sit on the board with Leds and a guy called Don Logan of the UK Paintball Federation. And we did a load of work with the government during COVID to allow paintball to be open back up again fairly quickly after the kind of real big sort of issues that we had during COVID. And what happened then was you've got so many players on the sidelines waiting to play again because they've been locked up for, you know, months. And so everyone was super excited, and even just recreational fields, people wanted to get out and do things, right? So when it was allowed, you know, for people to go out and play paintball in the woods or at the local field, whatever it might be, or just as a rental customer, just for the first time playing paintball, it was something they could go and do, right? So we did a ton of work for that. The fields were, you know, sort of swamped really with players, and all the regular players supported their local fields and got back out and started playing pretty early, as soon as they could. Where I think in some places, for example, Germany, the fields were closed down for such a long time, and maybe some people sort of drifted off and started doing other things. Like I think you could go to the pub in Germany before you could go out and play paintball again. I think that kind of had a real impact, you know, in Germany at least. So, but as far as England goes, we were pretty lucky, and it was thanks to not just, I'm not going to say myself, it was more Don really that put in a lot of work, and we were just reading through documents and legislation for hours and hours because we had nothing else to do, right? And so we contacted the right people, and we managed to get paintball moving pretty early. So
good. Paintball is a lifesaver, man. It really helped so many people through that time, and we talked about a lot on the show. It's one of the best sports that you could go and get outside and feel safe about too, because you have your mask on, your distance from people, you know, and it's one of those special games that we could really take advantage of, getting outside, getting some fresh air, still being a part of the community during a time that was really just not fun, to say the least, right? So I'm glad to hear that everything is booming over there. And first and foremost, thank you so much for taking the time all the way from Europe to tune in with us in the evening time. It's the morning time over here in America. So we're doing a morning show here, and we're just super stoked to have you on and talk about the Lucky 15s, everything that you've done in paintball, because you truly are a paintball legend across both ponds, you know, across, no matter where you go, across all the world. Ainsley, you hold weight in the paintball community, and it's amazing what you've done with your field, the CPPS, the Lucky 15s, everything that you're doing. And we're excited to see you at World Cup. I'm sure you guys are chomping at the bit and training really hard right now. But let's kind of start with the Lucky 15s, you know, your baby that you helped develop. How did this dream come to life, and when did it come to life? And what are kind of the beginning stages of that story there?
So I kind of came into paintball late in life. And I was playing paintball just in the woods with friends a lot. I didn't even know about tournament paintball back then. And it was probably sort of 16, 17 years ago. But I was always a guy when I was younger where I'd try and drag anyone that I could to paintball. But I just didn't know that there was anything else beyond a walk on or just going and playing in the woods, right? So, but as I got slightly older, and I found out more about it through forums and things back then. We had a group of friends and we were playing together a lot in the woods and doing all this stuff. And at the time, I was just in the office one day and someone said, "Oh, you need to have a bet on a local horse race in England called Cheltenham Races," right? It was the last day of Cheltenham, I think, that year. And I was like, or on the Friday, it was on the Friday. And I said, "Oh, I don't really bet, it's not my thing." And he said, "No, you've got to do it. It's basically $10. You pick 4 horses from 4 different races. It's called the Lucky 15 bet." So I was like, okay. And they threw me a paper and I just picked out 4 horses, put the $10 on. And from the money that I put down, it's like an accumulator, and I won basically $5,000.
Yes.
So with the money, I was like, well, it's kind of money that I wasn't expecting. So I bought all matching kit and markers and stuff for my friends that we were playing at the time. And the logo is a horse, obviously, because it was a horse race, and the name was Lucky 15s. And that's where it all started.
It's a cool story.
Yeah. That was like 15 years ago now. So yeah.
That's amazing. I love that. And then I'm sure
all the money's gone.
Yeah.
And more. But there you go. Yeah.
It's expensive. That's for sure, especially when you're running a successful organization the way that you have. So you guys got all kitted out. You got your new gear. You're feeling some type of way. You're feeling great about yourself. And then how did that progress? You guys just started playing some like tournaments?
Yeah, we just started playing local tournaments. Found Super, went into that, and then we started playing Millenniums back in the day, like D2 level. And then I'm no good, so then the team, I stepped back and then started to kind of work things out and get better players in. And it was just like a really slow process, but it was always really, it stemmed from a group of friends that had then just add in one extra guy that we knew or played at the local field. And it just kind of grew and grew and grew. So, and that's kind of how the field came about, really, because the CPPS existed before even I was there. So it was already set up, but not in the same way. The guy that owned it actually still comes to CPPS. He lives like 200 yards away from the field, and he still plays. So he's playing in Division 5 this year. He's kind of brought back all his old friends, and they're playing back at CPPS. But so we used to train there, and Rich kind of lost the love for it a little bit, and we could tell that, and we were training there every week. And Dylan, who's my business partner in CPPS, I think he was like captain of the second team that we call the Mustangs. And we sort of went to Rich and said, "Do you want to sell CPPS?" And there's a few negotiations, and I think Leds from Planet Eclipse helped out a little bit as well, like in the negotiations, and said, because I had a lot of ideas about how to grow paintball. And one of the things was to like really invest in paintball, like in the field, and make something that I wanted to play at. Really, there was so many little things back then in tournaments where it would annoy me, right? So I'd be the guy that would get there at 6 o'clock in the morning just to make sure we got a table and a tent, and then you'd stage like on grass, and so if it was raining, it'd get really muddy. So there's like check boxes that I wanted at a field, and that was like hard standing for staging. Everyone got a tent and a table, and it would be sort of pre-designated, so you knew where you were going to be when you got there. So you wouldn't have to get there early just to get a good spot and all that kind of stuff. And then really just take care of the grass.
You do a great job of taking care of the grass. There's memes everywhere of Ainsley mowing the lawn. They got massive fields beneath the turf field, which is where the pro field is when NXL Europe comes.
So we just, and Dill has the same sort of passion for it, right? So Dill's sort of crazy on grass too, in long grass. And
good, I love that. Yeah. The grass is so important for the players to go out there and have a good experience, like you're talking about. Yeah. It's what you're talking about is what we talk about all the time in here, is creating that amazing experience for paintball players.
Absolutely. And I think whether we were naive at that point about how much work it was going to be, like on average, I think we get through 20 to 30 tons of just topsoil. So we get the finest topsoil in that you get at a golf course. And then depending on what the weather's like after a big event, we might use 10, we might use 15, we might just use 5 if it's been really dry. And it's actually, if it's too dry, it drags out a lot of grass. So that's not good. You need like a little bit of moisture. But then you've got like all your grass seed and stuff. And we spend a lot of time doing that so that when all the players come 6 weeks later for the next event, everything's grown again and it's like no bare patches, and that's a big thing for us. So yeah.
Yeah. And I know there's a lot of field owners that are out there that are probably listening to this and wondering how you've been able to sustain it for so long and keep a great playing surface for the players. So you're kind of hitting on it there, and it's not easy, I would imagine.
No. I mean, so a lot of people in the UK know this, right? But on a Sunday night after the event, the Monday morning afterwards, all the bunkers come in off all the grass fields, and then we spend the rest of the week, 3 people just getting paint off all the grass fields, because like even though we have after on the back lines, you have to kind of use backpack blowers and get it all to the back lines and then get it all off, because too much paint on the grass is not good. So we get all that paint off that week, and then the weekend straight after the event, then it's down to topsoil and seeding and aerating and doing all the things that you find at a kind of, traditional sports facility. So yeah,
treat it like a golf course.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of what we do. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And what year did you start the Lucky 15s?
So it was exactly 15 years ago now. So
no way.
Yeah, it's
that's awesome.
It's a 15th year anniversary this year.
Yeah, outstanding.
Yeah,
like 2000, 2008, something like that.
2008.
Nice. Yeah. Did you guys make it over to the US for World Cup back then?
No, so we just played local tournaments. I think Lucky's came out maybe 6 years ago, I think, and played in the lower division. I think we were playing, I wasn't playing then, but the guys were playing maybe D1 or D2 at the Millennium, and they came over and played a few years ago. I've been going out to World Cup for at least, I think, 10 or 11 years. I go out every year with Planet Eclipse because Leds is a personal friend of mine. So I always go out and help with the booth there and have done for quite a while. So I'm always going out there. Cup again this year at Planet Eclipse in the booth, but it's just to help out, and because he's a mate of mine. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, World Cup is a spectacle, and it always has been, throughout the years. And this year will be no different. It's going to be insane. This World Cup is probably going to be taking the crown again as one of the biggest World Cups ever. They've been growing year after year, and paintball really has been thriving. And I know it's been doing really well in the European circuit as well. What is the sentiment or the vibe of the European paintball scene right now? Is it feeling good out there?
Yeah, I think there was like a weird lull, wasn't there? Because obviously NXL took over the Millennium, and then COVID hit, and then it was just almost decimated. Yeah. And I think, in fairness to the NXL, they've done a really good job of slowly building European paintball back up. So obviously this year they introduced, I think last year they just had, was it just pro? And then this year they've had semi-pro and pro as well going around in Europe. Mm-hmm. And hopefully they'll expand it again next year. They always do more divisions at what they call the European sort of championships, but the rest of the sort of season in the divisions, there hasn't been any. So it's only that one big event where you guys just have been to, where they have multiple divisions. Right. But this year they had semi-pro and pro. So yeah, it's slowly building back up, which is good.
Good.
Yeah, and that kind of speaks to the damage that COVID did to the paintball fabric over there, right? Yeah. There's just not enough teams playing, which is so unfortunate. But then I look at your events and I see how many teams are there, so I'm like, there's still regional teams, but maybe it is in England partially, or largely due to what you guys did with, legislation and making sure that paintball could be played.
Yeah, maybe we just got lucky. And
it's in the name.
Yeah, maybe so. But, we're a small island as well. So
yeah,
pretty much all the teams come to me that are in the UK. And it's not that far to travel. Like the most driving is, I think some teams from Scotland drive maybe 5-6 hours maybe to come down and play times a year, but everything's drivable for those guys. So I guess that's why we've got like 100 teams still, per event.
Yeah, good.
Pretty good.
Yeah, and everybody out there, show love, support local paintball, help each other in any way that you can in the European circuits. We want to see everybody across the world doing great in paintball. And I'm coming to the UK at some point. I still have never been to the UK. I got to come and check this field out.
Yeah.
And
What?
I know, it's crazy.
And
That is crazy.
I'm going to come to going to Scotland too, to maybe try some whiskey. I've never done that either. And I want to try that.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, it's not just me in England doing a good job. I think there's lots of fields in the UK that do a good job, that offer tournament paintball as well, and we try and help those people out. And
good.
One thing we recognised early on is that people might say we have a monopoly because we run the league, I guess, and everyone comes to us. But there are other fields that run kind of support or feeder leagues to us, almost in a weird kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not say feeder leagues. They run their own independent leagues, right? So it's not attached to us, but they do a really good job. And we recognised early on that you can't just be us, right? Because what happens is at a local field where there's, say, Woodland, and they have one tournament field, people get interested and say, oh, what's that? And then they jump on there and they do 3-man stuff and 5-man, and that introduces people in a kind of easier way into tournament paintball, which is good. And then eventually, they might find their way to our league. But the guys and girls that run leagues in the UK as well do a really good job, and it's on them as well as me, really, that paintball's where it's at. So
yeah, there's absolutely levels to this and to gaining individuals' interest, right? We need ways to convert people from woods ball to tournament paintball. That's largely, the responsibility of the field owners, in my opinion, right? They're the ones that, they're having people come experience paintball for the very first time. And typically it is woods ball, bush ball, and they don't even know about tournament paintball. So they need to be shown that, some way, somehow. And what better place than the fields. Now, your field, I actually don't know this, Ainsley. You guys don't have any woods ball, do you?
No.
You don't. Yeah, all tournament.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting because it's, a huge conversation in the US has been for a long time is that tournament paintball doesn't make money for field owners. Field owners can't succeed if they, just run tournaments, and they don't even want tournament paintball players there. They just want the rec ball players. And I've always said that I think it's quite crazy. I think they're just not doing the things that they should be to make tournament paintball what it can be in their region, right? Yeah. Can you kind of speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I guess. I don't make a ton of money out of it, I'll be honest. It is a passion, but I can make a living out of it. And there's definitely, I think if you put the effort in, then it can be there. So, I'd probably make more money if I put up 5 recreational fields and had general public there. But although that's where I came from in the woods and stuff, we kind of work closely with fields that don't have tournament fields around us. So there's Warp Sports just down the road from us, NPF, Jed, Jed Green, right? Mm-hmm. So we work closely with those guys, and they send teams. Like Warps have a club, which I think puts in 4 or 5 teams to our events. So, and they all come from that field. So, and they do a really good job of making sort of clubs at their own woodland field. So even if you don't have space to have a tournament field at your venue because it's all woodland, perhaps look elsewhere, and it's a way for them to retain their customers, right? So they all kind of sell them the kit, and they come to training, and like I do them a deal a little bit on training because they bring so many teams to like one training session, and that money helps the club and helps those teams play and makes it slightly cheaper for them. And there's a few examples of that in the UK of that where people set up clubs out of those fields, and that kind of keeps that process going. So yeah, maybe something to look at.
Yeah, certainly.
It takes everybody, and you're developing talent as well, and helping the fabric of the game and helping so many players out that way.
Yeah, I think another thing that I find quite exciting that's sort of come out of this last 12 months is Gel Blaster.
Yeah.
So we're doing some stuff with Luckies with Gel Blaster, as you probably know, Bud. But I've done a couple of birthday parties now, and I've done some influencer days for Gel Blaster. Well, they're distributors in the UK, and the kids that come, the first thing they ask then is about paintball. Like they've done the day, and then they want to know about paintball, and it's kind of getting that mindset straight away into someone's mind. There's something else there, and I think it's going to be big down the line just for paintball.
Yes.
And I think that's why Gel
Totally
Blaster align themselves a little bit with paintball, because they see that sort of symbiotic relationship between the two, right? So I think that'll be good. And then I also think that Speedsoft is going to be quite a good kind of overflow into paintball, because some of those people, and we've seen it in the past, and although it's getting better and more organized, especially like with the tracer rounds, some of the people that have done Speedsoft in the past have kind of given up with it and come over to paintball. And I know that's sort of growing in Europe as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there with people coming directly over from Speedsoft.
Yeah, we're seeing that here in the U.S. too. I know for the Team USA U19s tryouts, there was actually a couple kids that play like professional Speedsoft that came over and just started playing paintball. And I was actually really impressed with their fundamentals and their ability and kind of their knowledge of the basics of paintball, right? Don't get shot, have good survivability and try to eliminate your opponents. But it was, like this one player, his name's Gavin Day. He didn't end up playing with us because he had like the world championship of Speedsoft the same weekend. And it was like his final one. And then he's going all in on paintball, but he'd only played paintball a couple times and he looked like he had been playing for years, and he certainly was expressing that he is much more interested in paintball. And there's a lot to love about paintball. For me, I think the simple thing of being able to see when you actually eliminate somebody is pretty big. that probably helps.
But I think that growth of that market is going to be good for paintball.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So
yeah, totally.
It's quite exciting.
Yeah, it's been booming. Actually, Ronnie Dizon, Chad Yaya Boucher, they just were over in Europe playing that exhibition out there with Marky, and they had a ton of fun out there. And I think the Speedsoft gameplay is a little bit different. Like there's a unique way in which you score points and can win those matches. So it's definitely a learning curve there. But the gameplay that they got to experience of, watching the tracer rounds and seeing all that was really cool. And it's cool we're seeing that in paintball too. HK just dropped the new glow paintball. And like there's just so much innovation going on right now, which is fun to see. And I think you're absolutely right with Speedsoft being a huge transition into paintball. And then the gel ball is crazy. Like the fact that we can have the youngsters shooting and playing and simulating a paintball game in a very like confined, fun way is going to mature really well into turnover for paintball players as they grow up, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We
So let's see what the next 5 years bring.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It seems like things are heading in a pretty good direction. Which brings me to my next question. Ainsley, I don't know if you listen to the show, but I'm sure you're in the know on this new format that we're going to be testing at World Cup.
Yes.
How do you feel about that? One, are the Lucky 15s going to be participating in that on Wednesday? And two, what's your opinion?
Okay, no, we're not going to participate. The guys, we can't afford to play it basically because there's still a cost involved in playing.
Yes.
Just in entry fee and then also just paint, right? So, so they're not going to partake in it. If they had the money, they probably would. The new format, I'm not 100% sold on it. But one thing that I do believe in is Tom. I know what Tom's like, and he's been chatting to me about it all year, right? And I know what he does, and he goes around and he speaks to everyone, and then he kind of develops an idea, and it starts as one thing, and then a year later it ends up as something else. So it'll be interesting to see how it sort of ends up and how it plays out. I understand where he's going with it in terms of trying to not reduce the paintball, but trying to reduce the cost of it a little bit and try and make it more exciting. My concern is that it depends how the field's set up, right? It's always the case. So I just worry that you're going to lock down that area and it's going to become slow.
Yeah, I totally agree.
But people thought that M500 was super slow when it was brought out, right? A Millennium. And it was because the bunker layout wasn't really great then for for limited paint play. I don't know if there was one year, I think in France, in a Millennium, the last event, they did an exhibition match of M500, and it was super slow, but it was back when they had the M, so you couldn't really, like now there's so many bunkers you can move around and it's a bit more exciting even with limited paint, but then it kind of, everyone got out, and because they were used to shooting more paint anyway, it was kind of stale and quite a boring day.
That's interesting, because I feel that the perception has always been that the limited paint format speeds the game up.
Yes.
So I'm trying to remember that event, because I know I was going over there at that time.
Yeah. Everyone was like, "Oh, this is boring. This
really
is not going to work."
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. And then the year after, the bunkers changed, and then I think over the last I don't know, 4 or 5 years, the bunkers have changed even more the way it's set up, and it allows more movement anyway for limited paint. And I think everyone ignores the layout, right, in terms of how it affects the game, but it has such a huge impact. So
Absolutely.
It depends on where this buzzer system is set up, and I'm sure the guys at NXL and girls at NXL have figured this out, and hopefully we'll see something pretty cool. But that's my concern.
Yeah.
Lockdown slow, but
yeah. And what happens if, it is a lockdown kind of field, and then one of the points ends 4 bodies alive on each side and nobody's even in the advantage bunker, but the 4 minutes is up. So now it's 0-0. Like, for spectators, I don't think any of it is very exciting. I really don't. Spectators be like, huh? There's still 4 people on each side. Why is it over? And nobody scored. That's like a really bad sporting system, in my opinion. It does reduce the cost, and I think it'll allow the NXL to have less fields, because they'll be able to fit more games in a limited amount of time on one field. So it reduces the NXL's cost. It reduces the team's cost, because less points, obviously less paint. And maybe that is something that is necessary right now. I know that the owners try to take into account certain, economic times and pressures that are very much so a reality. A lot of people have a lot less spending cash right now. So maybe that is a way to assist with that. But if we're talking about making the game better and making the game more viewable, I do not think that this is it. But we'll see. We are testing it. We will be there Wednesday to participate in it as well. So, we'll actually see if it's exciting or what. But I do agree, too, that the field layout's going to be very much so dependent.
And then the scoring system as well. I know he talks about, making it kind of easier to follow and simpler for viewers, but the scoring system as well, it's not easy to kind of explain to somebody that doesn't know paintball either, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally agree.
But I think it's how you present those things, and I'm guessing they're doing a good job of figuring that out too. So for me, there's I always like limited paint, right? So and if you're looking for a way to reduce cost of paintball, then limited paint to me is quite a neat fix for everybody. Like, I mean, you guys played limited paint at the Nations Cup, and Marcelo, you played it for a couple of years in Europe at least. So we don't find any games are super stale there.
No, I really enjoy playing limited paint. It feels better on your back as a player. You feel more dynamic. You're not forced into a certain role that leads to boring paintball. Another, conversation that there has been with the limited paint, at least with the 4 pods, not so much the 2 pods, but the 4 pod limited paint, is that you almost end up shooting about the same because points are a little faster. So you play more points. I don't know if that's true. Do you have any insight to that?
It's definitely more in the US, based on the US playing at Cup last year.
Okay.
Maybe a third more at least.
Oof. I mean, that's a chunk. Yeah, that's a chunk for sure.
It's a lot. So
yeah, I enjoy limited paint. Always have. I know Tyler does. He's a sharpshooter. Don't need a whole bunch of paintballs.
I'm trying to go get active as soon as possible.
Yeah, totally. Like, you have the first part of the game where you can shoot and contain, but then you get right into that second part of the game where, okay, we've watched zones, we've got our formations. Now let's go on the attack.
Yeah, exactly.
And go ahead, Ainsley.
I was going to say I liked your idea about the kind of 2-point thing as well. In that episode, so
he does listen, my man.
Probably might have saw the reel.
Yeah, might have saw the reel.
No. Watch the whole thing.
Yeah, but, I think that's a great way to speed up the game a little bit, make it a little more exciting, and offer something that doesn't change the fabric of how we play paintball.
whether that's, I mean, I think, what did you say, 24 seconds or something? But yeah, like you said, I think you said since then maybe 30 seconds is a better
Yeah.
number. And then
Yeah.
is that only in the final minute or 2 minutes that you can score those extra points as well to make it even more dynamic? I don't know. So
I like it being the whole match because it will potentially speed up the whole game. It will become part of teams' playbook.
Yeah.
It'll be part of the traditional playbook if that is the rule, that at any point in the match. It's like in basketball, you take the risk to shoot further from the hoop, you get 3 points instead of 2 points.
Yeah.
It's you could open up a match with trying a really quick point. That's exciting for viewers, and it's not super confusing to explain. At the end of the day, any set of rules for any sport is pretty confusing to somebody that doesn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Right? When I first started watching American football, I didn't understand the rules, so I didn't even really enjoy it. It was so confusing. And now when I think about it, when I explain to a girlfriend or somebody that doesn't know football, I'm like, these rules are super complicated. There's like so much going on, but we just innately understand it because we've all watched it for so long, and there's so much information about the sport. There's constant, everyone in the United States is being programmed NFL rules and plays and understanding these athletes, so it's on TV and social media all day long. So yeah, people are like, oh, it's so simple. It's really not that simple. Actually, it's a pretty complex set of rules.
Yeah.
So I tried explaining it to Theo, like we were watching a football game, my son, and I was like, what am I talking about right now? Trying to explain this to my little guy. He had no clue what I was talking about.
100%. So to me, it's not about trying to simplify our game or dumb it down. It's just we need to do a better job of explaining it, a better job of showcasing the skill, the tactic, what it is that we actually do. And that's all very possible. I think we should be focusing on that rather than fully changing our game to something that I don't think is any less confusing. I think it might be less exciting and a little more gimmicky and less fun to play. It does change our game quite a bit when you're changing the strategy from R5 trying to eliminate your 5. And, I'm fine with changing bodies. If it's 7-man or 5-man, 10-man, the goal is typically the same, eliminate the other team. But now it's about positioning on a field. I get it. There's more points if you do, eliminate the other team. And so that probably is still strategy number one. But to have a scoring system where the game can end and you get points based on just positioning, I don't totally love that. And not to mention the scoring
mature as it goes. I'm sure, Tom.
Yeah,
this isn't
of course,
like the final,
of course.
The final thing.
It's also going to really slow down though the way it's currently. What I don't understand though is we've had this idea for a couple weeks now, and I've already found so many holes in it. So how well thought out was it, to be completely honest? Because what happens if you win the first point? You win. You shoot all 5, you get 7 points. Now you could play super defensive because if they get the advantage bunker twice, they can't even tie it. Right? They have to actually win a point in order to tie it. So then it makes the advantage bunker like kind of irrelevant for the rest of the game. You know what I mean? Which I don't know. It just you would think that if they at least got the next 2 points and had the advantage bunker, maybe it at least ties the game. I don't know. I just don't
the opponent's coming at that point. They're sending it.
They have to, which makes it that much easier to play defensive. So
you know what they have to do.
And he's trying to make it simpler for just normal fields to run that sort of paintball, right? But fields now run paintball events without scoreboards. Like in the UK, they do. It's not an issue. They just do traditional 5-man stuff.
Certainly.
It's fine.
Yeah, and we're still in the we were joking about this on one of the episodes, like in the early stages of developing our game, like baseball when they were still laying the lines of, or all these sports have these very intricate rules, and we're still figuring out exactly where we're headed with this sport. We know it has a tremendous amount of opportunity. We know it's one of the funnest things you'll ever do, and there's millions and millions of people that play. It's just about finding the correct direction with the sport as a whole, and we're still in that stage right now.
And you know what? On that note, I think you have to take your hat off to Tom, because he's always pushing to try to find.
Absolutely.
And if we stay still, then that's no good either, right? So
absolutely,
very true. Tom is the man. He's always going to work. I chat with him pretty often. I know March does, and at the tournaments, he's always the first one to have an open ear and an open heart to see what he can do to help the game in any way. You know, he really cares.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love that since he's come on the show, because before he started coming on PTG or really doing any sort of public speaking, people kind of thought Tom was like this evil villain that was, you know, in it for the money. And I'm like, you guys don't know Tom. Tom is the man. He has sacrificed so much for this sport. Sure, of course, he gets a decent salary. I mean, we should pay the man more for what he does. People are like, oh, it's only 5 events a year. No, that man is working paintball 24/7 and consistently flying to a new city, trying to find better venues, trying to find sponsors that want to, you know, showcase their product, that are trying to get paintball in front of, you know, more eyes. He is consistently working on trying to make our sport better. Yeah. But he doesn't bat 1,000 with, you know, ideas, and not everybody does. So I don't know. Again, I'm curious to see how this plays out at World Cup, the format. I'm not sold on it yet, but I do love Tom.
I mean, you know, like I might love watching it. The players might love playing it, and we might all be in
totally. Yeah, might play, and I'm like, damn, that was actually a lot of fun, you know, and it was exciting. Yeah. And then if that's the case, I'm gonna say, well, it's just because the field layout was like that. It's not normally going to be exciting.
And who knows? Like, we only see the tip of the iceberg. There could be a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. Totally. That you know, things in the work that they need to have a different type of format or something of that nature. So we'll see,
to be showcased on TV.
Yeah, you just don't know. And I know that like Tom came on the show. He said he's going to the Sportel of Monaco to go have some, you know, brush elbows with the big industry leaders in sports. So we're definitely moving in the right direction, and I have full faith in El Capitan at the helm there, Tommy.
El Capitan. 100%. And, you know, he did say something else that I was really encouraged by too. And it was that, you know, for at least for now, the plan is not to use that format to replace what we already have. It's in addition to. And if that's the case, I'm all in. Like if it does prove to be more viewable or exciting or sellable to, you know, TV for television, cool. You know, have 1 or 2 tournaments like that a season, happily go participate, you know, and compete in that. And that will probably only make, you know, the version of the sport that we love grow even more. So that was encouraging.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So Ainsley, let's talk about heading into World Cup. It's right around the corner. I know the Lucky 15s are going to be making the journey over. What has the preparation been like? What are you guys looking forward to the most, and what's going to be happening as you guys transition and make your way over to America here?
Okay, so we only just sort of made it in by the skin of our teeth, and that's because a couple of teams couldn't make it out. And I guess the Luckies have, I wouldn't say, struggled a bit this year in pro in Europe, and I think there's a few factors that have gone on. They got a couple of podiums last year. They got a 2nd and a 3rd, I think, last year in Europe. But they're always just on the edge. And I'll be honest that the main thing we struggle with is a kind of a coach or just one voice, right? Because what happened is the year before we just had Clint, and Jim was who used to play for us, but he took a couple of years out just to get some live stuff sorted. And Jim came back this year. And Jim's also like an alpha, right? So you got Clint, who's an alpha, and you got Jim, who's an alpha. And I'm not saying they don't work together, because they do. But what happens is you get 2 kind of big voices, and then everyone kind of gets a little confused about which is the way to go. And I'm not saying, I've said this before on something, and they both messaged me like, you know, it's not my fault. And I'm like, no, it's not either your kind of issues. But it kind of just muddies the waters a bit, and the other guys, I wouldn't say don't know both, but it kind of just mixes things up a bit, and it's not concise and clear.
Absolutely.
So what we did was one of the players that played for a long time, and he's played for GB in the past, and he as well had a couple of years out for live stuff, but Aidan has kind of come in just to help with the coaching element, and he was there at the last event, and he helped a lot, and he's going to come out to World Cup as well for us. So I don't think he'll be doing it next year. He wants to play and try and get on the first team again, but it just helped in France at least having one voice, you know, that people would listen to. And to be fair to Jim and Clint, they both listened to him and they went out and did stuff. So, for example, I think if you were to look at the start of the season and we went 4-0 down against Joy, we would have just lost 5-0, right? But in France, it ended up being a super close game. It's probably one of the best matches of the weekend. I think we tied it back up at 6-6 and then we lost that final quick point. But it was, I think that's down to just having that one voice and being on the same page with what's going on. And more than ever, I guess, the player not having to worry about what everybody else is doing. Just go out and do your job and just listen to an external voice is huge, really. So it's good that Aid's coming out. We got the last event of the UK series this weekend, and then so that'll be a big thing to kind of get over. And then the layout comes out it's like a couple of weeks before, isn't it? World Cup, really. So I think the guys are going to train the whole weekend at home in the UK just before, and then on the Saturday and Sunday, and then fly out on the Monday or the Tuesday out to World Cup. So yeah, they're excited.
Yeah, and that the travel is a whole another layer as well. Coming over, getting acclimated. I know, when Marcelo and myself went over and played in France, and you guys played outstanding, by the way, out there in France for the championship. And I mean, we barely won by the skin of our teeth. It
was a great match. If no one's watched that, you should go back and watch it. The Nations Cup match, USA England.
Oh my God,
it was crazy.
Insanity. It was. So really good work and everything that you guys are doing. And it's once you guys come over to World Cup, you just flip the switch, right? You guys are in competition mode, and every time that you guys have come over to Florida, you put on a really good showing. The guys obviously are hungry. You guys work really hard and have great leadership and an amazing field out there with CPPS, with the field and the league that you run. So there's just a really good fabric of paintball that you've provided. So we're excited to see you and all the guys make the journey over, and safe travels and everything. I know it's a long journey.
Yeah, it should be good. They feel not as much pressure as they did last year, I guess, because it was the first year last year. There was a huge amount of pressure for Europeans, not just Luckies, but for Tauntauns and Carnage as well, because all those teams could come out and just lost 5-0 every match, right? And then everyone would be saying that European paintball is just not at that standard, or it's nowhere near American paintball. And we're definitely not quite there, but all the teams last year put on a really good show. Like Tauntauns came third, right, at World Cup.
Yeah,
they did well. Carnage played well. So yeah, hopefully that's good. So
here's a hot take. Huge topic of discussion is everybody talks about American paintball, European paintball, us coming over there, us not being there. What is I know that I love seeing everybody having so much fun right now, because I know the European paintball circuit is thriving. Players are doing really well. I wish that I could roll over there with like me and Marcelo go play on a team together, or me and Moorhead. Like having somebody that I could roll with would be amazing. Right now it's just one American player. What's your take on all that?
So I'm going to give you a different perspective, and I listen to this show a lot, so I know you guys.
There we go. I love it.
But I'm going to come at it from a team owner's point of view, right?
Yeah.
In the sense that, and this is more, say, back in the Millennium days when a whole American team would come over. Mm-hmm. It was very rare then that a European team would win. Mm-hmm. Right? Sometimes it would happen, occasionally. And I look at it like, when it's pure European with just some Americans mixed in, then there's a higher chance those European teams to win prize money and therefore increase the longevity of that program.
Yeah.
Where if that money kind of goes and there's teams just going out and just spending all that money because it's at least 10K an event to kind of go out and do the thing, how long can they keep it up without any return on that investment?
Absolutely.
And some people look at it in pure, I don't, but people look at it purely on an investment kind of basis, right? And so I think it gives the opportunity for a team in Europe that wins an event, it keeps that team going for at least another year. And I think that's huge. And that's one side of the conversation that no one really touches on. And I know players don't really think about it because, at a pro level, like you kind of supported heavily anyway. But from an owner's point of view, I think it's pretty big.
It's
It's
absolutely
a solid
huge.
point for sure.
Yeah, and actually, Tom Cole, I know you listened to that episode. He was talking about that, and we were laughing. He was like, Tommy was like, "You guys are just going over there, and you're like, you're not helping." He's like, because you're decimating the team, kind of. And we're like, I just honestly, I think the one is good. If we could just have two on a team, that way you could have like a little buddy system. I think that would be pretty cool. I do not think that it needs to go back to a full takeover like the way it was. But it would be nice to at least have like two per team. I think that would be cool. Just out of my own selfish view.
Maybe it'd be good to have another event in the calendar early in the year in the US where European teams could come over and play in like one of these.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Is another way to kind of raise the level, and you could just have 4 spots and say, well, anyone could come out and play that plays pro in Europe. If you want to come out and roll the dice, then head on out. And maybe that's another way to kind of head out and try and raise that level of European paintball.
Well, the level is, I mean, it's there. Y'all are playing amazing paintball. You understand the framework of the game, the connectivity, the awareness, all those things, and have good gun skills. So the play is definitely there. I think that having so many American players over there for so long, automatically it just goes up with that, and then being able to connect over so many different ways of having you guys come over to America, us guesting and things like that. The level of play is definitely right there. And when you guys come over to America for World Cup, we see it every year. The players are playing outstanding ball.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's exciting. So, but that's my little take from an owner's point of view on it. So
makes sense. It really does.
Yeah, that is absolutely a good point. Although I don't know if owners should be looking at having a professional paintball team as an investment. You might get a little bit of money back, but you're definitely not ever in the green.
Yeah. I guess actually thinking about it is the wrong word, because I don't think any owner of a paintball team, at least in Europe, is there for any kind of investment.
Yeah, totally.
You kind of do it as a passion, and you kind of want your team to do well, and it's all about how to make it better the next year, right? So I guess it's more the point that winning some money helps that program develop and the longevity of that program. So
it's certainly some relief, and that's a point that I've never considered. So that does make a very good argument. Ainsley, see, this is why we need you on the show. It's why we've needed you on for so long. You could have changed my perspective a year ago.
But yeah, we like having you guys over as well, because there is something else and a different level, and it brings knowledge to the game in Europe, and it's fun playing against you guys, right? So
and it's fun to just connect with across the world. We have this amazing game, and being able to travel and connect with players from all over the place, talk about your walk of life, my walk of life, everything that we have going on. You can exchange ideas, and there's really a lot of development in that regard as well, not just like on the field, but off the field. It's very important too, I feel, just have all of that connectivity and seeing each other.
Ainsley, do you find that it's more difficult to go from the limited paint format to unlimited paint? Do you think that has played a role? And last year, you guys, I would have loved to see if you guys had a 4th prelim game, because you guys went 1-2, but you beat Russian Legion, and then your other games were close. And if you had a 4th prelim game, maybe you go 2-2 and squeeze into Sunday. Yeah. But did you guys find that the paint made a big difference?
Yeah, they found it hard. The training before, they did a similar thing last year where they trained the whole weekend just before, and we invited a couple of friends that played at a high level over just in the UK to kind of make up the 10, so we could run 2 lines at least. And the guys were just not shooting enough paint day one. It was just, they were still on limited paint mode, and it took till probably midday on the Sunday for them to kind of relax into it and realize that they could shoot so much paint. So whether it's easier to go the other way, I'm not sure, but they found it hard to have that initial, I guess, 2 or 3 minutes sometimes where you just kind of lock it down and just holding that lane for so long. So yeah, it took a while, and Clint shouting at them saying, "You're not shooting enough paint," and they're like, "Well, I've shot 3 pots." And like, yeah, it's nowhere near enough. Yeah.
I think your team in particular struggles with that because the Lucky 15s are a very dynamic, aggressive, in your face kind of brand of paintball. And when, zones are being locked down a little bit more with more paint, makes it a little more difficult. You have to play a little more disciplined, and just the timing of those moves changes a little bit. Those moves are still there, but it's a little deeper in the game, or a little deeper in the point, I should say, rather than, the initial part of it.
And I think actually coming back from World Cup, I think it definitely affected their play and their mindset for the first half of this season as well, because then they kind of went down this whole rabbit hole of, okay, we can't, they realize that they just always want to go and smack people in the face, and they can't do that anymore, right? Especially at a high level, even in Europe. So they went down the rabbit hole of kind of slow playing layouts and working on that, and they've been trying to develop that all year, which has taken a while to do. And they have got better at it, but it's been the kind of next layer in their kind of process, I guess, is learning how to really try to slow it down as well as playing fast points. And I think that was most evident really in France, I guess, with the Joy game and stuff like that. They learn how to sometimes slow it down, how to speed it up, and they're still working on it, but it is better. Although the results haven't been the same or as good as last year, I feel like their paintball is in a better place than it was. So.
I mean, look, when we play you guys in the Nations Cup, you guys, 1, beat us last year, and then 2, this year, easily could have beat us, should have beat us. You can make that argument. The team is very good. It's a very tough team to play against. And it was mostly Lucky 15's players on the Great Britain starting lineup. And the players definitely understand the game and are 100% getting better and better. I've said for a while now, as soon as your guys' team starts to understand the discipline part of paintball a little bit more, and understanding how to play the score and the clock, and really honing in on that part of the game, wins are coming. Wins are absolutely coming.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because probably 2-3 years ago, you'd say to people, as a player on the team, you'd ask them, say, do you know how to play paintball? And say yes. And do you know how to play the clock? And they'd say yes. And in reality, they absolutely don't. And it's kind of this next level of kind of that realization of actually what you're doing out there to slow it down and
100%.
how to use that layout. So yeah, it's until you kind of go through it, you don't really understand it. I think it sounds so simple, right? But it's absolutely not.
Yeah, it's the highest level.
Yeah, just kind of start even to scratch that surface and break it down a little bit. So
there's a lot of layers, definitely. And especially when you have to go from one format to another format. That's like when we had to play 7-man and 5-man, and you're switching those formats up. And like in the current iteration of paintball that we play, you have, 5 pods you could shoot, and then those moves start to develop. Whereas in Europe, it's like you have 45 seconds. You shoot a pod, 2 pods, and it's off to the races. And the other interesting thing about American paintball is some players have 12 pods, some players have 8 pods or 9 or 10, and there's just this wide array of pods on backs, and there's no like standard. It's like, so you really have to do your homework as well and look at, okay, this guy has 12 pods on his back. You know what I mean? What's he gonna do?
You play Infamous. Callie's gonna have 12 pods on his back. He's gonna be in a spot just locking down a couple zones.
Yeah,
they kind of put the paint on the back at training last year just before Cup, and I can't remember who it was. It might have been Sven or one of the small guys.
Got scoliosis
had six pots on his back, and he's like, Jesus, this is heavy. I'm like, well, probably not enough. And he's like, well, maybe I'll stick some more on. so it's kind of interesting. But yeah, there's so many factors when you kind of get to that level about like how to develop your game and how to take that next step, right? And one of the big things I think the guys also learned last year going to Cup is the amount of work you do off the field between matches, scouting games, watching the live streams. It's so important, and a lot of teams don't do that. And the more you do, the easier the games become. And it's not just writing down, what bunkers people go to. It's tendencies. It's what they do at certain times of the game, if they're up or down, and all these little intricacies of the game, which are kind of amazing, really. But like you say, we're just starting to scratch the surface. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you got to be clocked in on that videotape, definitely, making sure you're getting all the information possible. And we actually have a bunch of information we want to go over in the Discord PTG World chat room. Everyone's excited to have you on and have that European paintball perspective. So we've got some questions in here. And then before we go into that, I just want to shout out your field and show some love. If you're in Europe, make your way over to CPPS and check out that field that you guys have going on. Do you guys have any fun, like big games or anything coming up? What's cooking with the field these days?
So in the season, we have just 5 big events over the year where there's like 100 teams.
There we go.
But every year we do a fun annual 7-man as well, which is towards the end of November.
Nice.
So when we get back from Cup, everyone plays 7-man and just for fun.
Yeah,
so,
nice.
But yeah, probably I think the NXL will be back at my place next year as well. So because they use my field for one of the European legs, so
yeah,
maybe that's a good time to come over and see it at its best in summer when it's nice and warm, and you can sit on the banks around the Astro Field, kind of man-made stadium that we kind of built. So yeah, it's kind of cool.
I'm on my way.
Super cool.
I can't wait.
Yeah, hopefully I will be there too.
Good man.
All right. Well, we got let's see, we got Jay Lamb, who is in the Discord here. After the visit to World Cup last year, do you feel your team's exposure has increased? Also, where did the name come from? You went over that earlier in the episode, but do you think the exposure has increased for the team since last year?
Yeah, I feel like we've got definitely some more US-based fans after coming out to Cup. I guess people didn't really know who we were when we were going out there, and they just thought, oh, who are these guys? And the guys, I think this year are going to spend even more time at the field, like because last year they were just like, oh, let's get back to the pool, let's chill out. But they've all said this year they want to hang around the field a lot more and just speak to people and hang out in stands. Yeah. So yeah, and the feedback they got there from people last year, just spectators and fans, was pretty amazing. So yeah, definitely was good.
The brand is growing.
Yeah. It absolutely is. And it's a great name too. I've always liked the name, and now everyone knows the story. Fantastic. Yeah. I got to say, shout out to the PTG Discord. Everyone in here is so tuned in because a lot of these questions we've already discussed, right? And it just shows that they're asking good questions. I like. So Mark Paris, Moose, Patty, we're not going to get into those questions because we did talk about them, but I was born for this, wants to know. And this is a fantastic one. You're the head of NXL Europe for 1 season. What rules are you changing?
Hot take.
That's big.
Yeah, you're the boss, man. What are you going to
do? I think what NXL are doing now is pretty good because they're slowly trying to increase the numbers, right? So they might expand a little more next year from what I've heard in terms of divisions, and I think that's a really good way to do it. I think them taking small steps to grow European paintball at that level is amazing. So yeah, it's a tricky one. Like, what do you do to change it?
You could add Marcelo's shot clock thing, huh? I think.
Yeah, cool. maybe the whole shot clock thing would be a nice little trial in Europe, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's hard.
Guess that doesn't sound convincing.
I mean, there's so many things I could do. So
I know
you gotta choose something.
I know.
You're on the spot.
I know, it's a tricky one. Wow, way to put me on the spot. I think I'd keep a lot of things the same. I'll be honest, I think they're doing a really good job in Europe, and I have to take my hat off to them in that respect. So
you're changing nothing.
I am jealous of the limited paint. I will say that. I wish it was like, even if it was 5 or 6 pods, I don't know, just having it to where there's not this huge disparity of paint out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's pretty solid. I'll go back to my other idea of maybe having some sort of system where early on in the season, European teams can come out to the US. So
I like that.
There we go.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. All right, we got Chad Figs. Who are the lucky 15s players to watch out for at World Cup? Who's going to be getting it out there?
They're you guys know they're all kind of small and kind of squirrely.
Mhm.
So it's hard. A lot of the time, the front players kind of get a lot of credit. So like Spencer Tilbury on the bags, who's fast, but one person that doesn't get a mention on the bag side is Tom Carroll. He's super solid. Like he's a front bag player. And
And for
then
the Americans, the bags of the Doritos. You did not know.
yes, Doritos.
I kind of prefer the tea bags, you know. I
Yeah.
think
I like it.
It's I mean, all my boys. It's like Mason. Like he's been with me for years.
Mason's
He's a
great.
player.
Yeah.
I mean, March, you know that years ago he kind of went through that rebellious stage and he got a bit of a chip on his shoulder.
Mhm.
But he's matured so much, and I'm proud to know the kid. He's
Absolutely. I'm a big fan.
a great young man, and then there's players that kind of keep low key, like Ethan Levy on the snake side. He's a sort of snake side support player, super talented player. So, I mean, they're all talented. That
100%. Yeah.
It'd be a disservice to name just one or two because, in my eyes, they're all kind of great players, and I'm excited to see them play out there. So.
Yeah, PTG World's keeping you on your toes here with
Yeah.
these loaded questions.
They're unafraid. They know their name's going to get read and everything. They don't care. How about, obviously, we've got to mention Decaf. Decaf is going to come over and play some good paintball, I'm sure.
Yes. He struggled last year because he's on about Lou. So Louis he suffered with his knee last year, and he was always like wary about diving in the snake because I think he kind of did something to it earlier on in the season, and he had to take maybe one event off in the UK. So he was always kind of playing fearfully, and so he didn't ever want to dive in the snake. And that really, I mean, the snake wasn't great at World Cup last year, was it? It's kind of a redundant set.
Hard to get into as well.
But it definitely showed in his play, I think, last year. But he's back on it now. His knee's feeling good. So yeah.
Yeah, because he's a great athlete. I love calling him Decaf though. His last name's Coffee, and he the Lucky 15s definitely are not shy about talking smack. So anytime we see each other, there's a bit of good banter. And Coffee said something, and I just called him Decaf, and it was a pretty funny moment. So that's his new.
One thing I'll say about they'll give you, they talk smack to you because it's a weird English thing, right? So if an English person talks a lot of smack to you, it means they're comfortable with you and they class you as a friend. So.
Totally. I appreciate it. To me, it has made our relationship closer. I learned this from years of playing with Clint. Clint's one of my favorite people of all time. I got to play with the Nexus guys. So trust me, I'm very familiar with it. And it's exactly. It's fantastic.
It's when they're quiet with a closed fist. That's when you got to watch out. Not when they're
Exactly. I do want to ask, because you kind of mentioned about Louis not wanting to dive on the grass, or the grass not being that great. Going from turf, it seems like all the European events recently since COVID have been on turf.
Yes.
All the US events are always on grass. NXL Europe, I believe, in the past it was on grass as well. What do you guys prefer? Do you prefer playing on turf or grass?
I think they prefer turf, really.
Really?
Just because I think they might say my grass is quite good, so they don't mind playing on grass.
Sure.
They actually had to train last weekend on the grass at my place, and we had like a month's worth of rain on the Friday, and it muddied up a bit, and they were like, put us back on the Astro.
Yeah, but that's probably better training for World Cup for them to be on the grass.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, Lou's thing wasn't about diving on rough ground or anything. I think he actually did his knee or his leg on the Astro. It was a bit of a hamstring pop, but then after that he was complaining about his knee for probably about 3 or 4 months, and it just didn't feel right. But now he's good, so we'll see.
It doesn't necessarily mean that the ground is bad. I know for me personally, dealing with injuries in the past, if I'm not confident in the surface, no matter what it is, turf, grass, if I'm not confident in like my footing and ability to slide without thinking about it, there's just a little bit of hesitation that sneaks into the back of the mind, and it changes the way you play for sure.
Yeah, it does.
All right, we got Mr. Mr. Huell, what are some ways Lucky 15s have been training to compete against the dynamic playing style of the U.S. teams?
I think they watch a hell of a lot of paintball anyway. So even when they're not playing in Europe, they're just watching and trying to emulate what the pros do in the US, right? So, and you see that in all forms of sports, that you watch what people do and you take some of that and you take a little bit of this and then you kind of make your own recipe from it. So they can do as much training as they want on the field, but I think all that is elements taken from watching so many hours of paintball over the years and trying to hone that into their own personal skill. So, but as far as the team goes, for them, it's just working as a team, right? And you see this all the time, but when people are comfortable with the people behind them and they have confidence in that player behind them and they know and can read the player in front of them, it's so much easier.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Yeah, you got to spend that quality time together, and it shows on the field as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Jens wants to know, are any major changes to the squad expected after this season?
I don't think so. Clint's kind of not sure whether this might be his last year because he's older than everybody else.
You're not done yet, Clint. You are not done yet, buddy.
So maybe just Clint, I think. And I think that's it. And we're running with 8 now with Clint anyway. So we just have to see whether we then run with 7 if that is the case, or we pick up somebody else and fill that spot. 8 and 7, it's sometimes it gets tricky. But we tend to rotate fronts quite a bit. So the Snakes and the Doritos, so it's a little bit easier. So we'll see. But no, it shouldn't be any major changes, all being well. So, nice. And if Clint does step away on the field, then I think he still wants to stick around with the squad in aspects.
Yeah, it's a part of his life,
Yeah,
that's him.
Exactly.
And he's got a great mind for the game, so having him around the camp is definitely valuable. Yeah. 7's a little tricky just because if there's any injuries, then it gets real tricky. Then you're 6, maybe 5. Yeah, 8's a good number.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
it'll all depend and be determined by what happens at Cup, right? So, but the guys, their mindset is they came so close last year. I think if Revo hadn't got that penalty in that point against Legion, then we would have gone through. So that's how close it was to going through to Sunday last year. So their mindset is just make Sunday this year. That's their goal. So
like I said, I think you guys lost a 2-point game to Revo, and that's a great team. And last year Revo was playing phenomenal. So again, I feel like if you guys had, one more prelim game, which we were all supposed to have, right? But the Thursday got canceled because of the hurricane. You guys squeeze into a wild card spot or something, and anything could happen on Sunday. So I thought the team played very well. Watching those games last year was impressive.
I just hope Jason does a good Snake.
I know. I know. Oh, I can't wait to see the field. I'm so curious as to what bunkers are going to change next year. I'm hearing that we might have some new bunkers. Pretty sure we're going to have some new bunkers debuted at World Cup. Not during World Cup, but they'll be at the venue, to showcase for the following year.
The return of the cone.
The cone.
No cones.
You know what would be cool to bring back is the tombstone bunkers. Remember those in 7-man, the tombstone bunkers? Yeah. I really liked those.
Yeah.
So, I always look at it from a field owner's perspective. So you remember when they used to have like the straps on say the M or the main, like the big kind of cans that they had, and they had the straps off it, and that would change all the time. And then if it was windy, it'd be a nightmare. And I'd be like, why are they doing such tall bunkers? Drives me insane. And then they bring out a cone. I was like,
wrong. Careful what you wish for.
I know. Hopefully he's watching and he doesn't rejuvenate the cone.
Yeah. And I haven't even thought about the cone bunker since I was like a kid. That was so long ago. that bunker. It's funny.
I like that we change the bunkers every couple years. We add a few new ones. It brings a little bit of a different dynamic to the playing field. And in our sport where you're changing the field layout every event, if we never change the bunkers, it would be hard to come up with new layouts and keep things interesting and original. So I don't mind it. It's kind of exciting. I'm excited to see what they come up with. I thought the mini bricks and mini wings were an amazing addition. I've really enjoyed playing those.
I think if anything, maybe there's almost too much going on in the middle with the big bricks, because there's those two, the two big bricks and then the 4 wedges, almost too much, So maybe we'll strip something out and put something a little smaller in there. Because even with 1 big brick and 4 wings, like the big wings, or vice versa, just reduce one of those a little bit and add some smaller bunkers in, you can still get up to the 50 pretty easily, and there's still ways, but there's not just these huge bunkers everywhere. So but we'll see. Ron's got something cooking.
Yeah, and it adds a buzz. There's a nice buzz. Everyone's like, oh, what are the new bunkers gonna be? And the fields definitely have been very dense, like the last couple seasons, where there's a lot of movement. A lot of things are blocked out early off the break. So it's been a really fast style of play, which I've enjoyed. And, we talked about it with Tom. It's like, we just love paintball, and whatever you think's going to be best, we all think's going to be best. Let's do it and keep having fun with it. That's the most important.
And I think new bunkers are good for fields. They might moan and, I have to buy like seven sets of upgrade bunkers, but it's good because when they arrive, people want to come out and try them out and see what they're like, and the field gets a bit of buzz about it as well. It's exciting for that period, trying to work out how that bunker set as well changes the game for that year. It's good. I like it.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does add a whole nother layer to the style of play out there. All right, we got Shadow. This is a funny one. Do y'all believe in aliens over there in the UK?
No. If anything, people believe more in ghosts in the UK, I would say.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
100%. I've seen the shows.
Yeah. It's all the old pubs, and there's supposedly not far from me. There's like a really haunted pub apparently that like.
No way.
Old,
Oh man, you got to go there and check it out.
Yeah. Spooky. I got a personal question. Have you been dominating any escape rooms lately?
I'm trying to think. We've not done a load. We went to with Leds actually for his wife Ailey's birthday recently. We went to a kind of experience bar where it was called Alcatraz, and you have to sneak in alcohol, and then this kind of like
oh no way.
It's pretty cool. You get put in cells. That was kind of fun. So yeah, we haven't done as many escape rooms this year actually. We need to
man.
We've done them all.
You've done them all. I was gonna say, you've probably done them all by now. How about in Orlando? There's some good ones in Orlando. You guys have
one out in Orlando as well.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I need to get back to an escape room. If you're competitive, I don't recommend going with your significant other. I know you go with yours. Well, I guess it depends on the significant other, because I brought my girlfriend, and it was a little bit of a battle. The clues were right under her nose, and she couldn't sniff it out. And then at the end, I'm like, wait, you were the one holding that. You didn't realize that that's what I was asking for? It's like one of those kind of things.
Leds is so funny in an escape room. He will shout at you. He'll be like, we go with a friend of ours, Gaz, and his wife, Claire, and he'll be like, Gaz, what are you doing? That isn't even a thing yet. Put your coat down in the corner. Get it away. Have you solved that? Put it in the corner. Like, there's a whole...
He's serious.
There's a system.
Yeah, there's a structure and a system.
There's a system. I love
it. Let's just loses his mind.
Yeah. It's too good.
Hey, he's got the passion. He's really got the passion.
Speaking of Leds, I saw a question up here. Where was it? Also by Jens. Will Luckies play with the GO5 at the World Cup?
No, all CS3s.
Oh, CS. All right. All CS3s.
GO5? What?
Yeah. What? I don't know. I guess there's rumors. Rumors. The rumor mill.
Something's happening.
Dude, all right. World Cup's gonna be awesome. A bunch of companies are launching some amazing products. It's gonna be a bigger venue than we've had in like over 10 years, from what I'm hearing. I'm really excited.
No way.
Because last year the numbers were affected a little bit by the hurricane, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So I think this year will truly be the biggest World Cup ever.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, I got another question here from Lertz Paintball. Being an owner of a team, what aspect of owning the team challenges you the most?
For me, I guess, I mean, I don't have kids. So Steph and I have been together like 20 years, but we don't have kids. And it's like having 8 kids, even Clint, right? So it's just dealing and managing those personalities. And a lot of them as well, they've grown into men since I've known them. And it's kind of rewarding.
Yeah.
But yeah, the challenge is sometimes just dealing with personal situations of those players and trying to help them out and trying to be that person that gives them some life experience and guidance. And I find that super rewarding, you know, and yeah, it is like having 8 kids. So, but it's just fun, you know. I love, if I didn't love it, I wouldn't do it. And
of course,
they're like family to me, all the guys on the team, and I get so much out of it. It's super cool. So.
That's the most amazing experience about the game, is going through the highs and the lows, the good and the bad times with each other, and being there for each other on this journey of life, on and off the field, and building that lifelong relationship. You know, you guys are going to be friends for your entire existence on this planet, and it's because of this amazing game.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly.
That's what it's all about.
Well, man, Ainsley, that was last bit of questions from the Discord, but it's been an absolute pleasure having you on again. Long overdue. Awesome to have your input and insight and a little bit of, you know, information about the Lucky 15s and European paintball. You made a great point that, you know, shifted my perspective a little bit on the debate of having, you know, US pros over there. Still think that we should be over there and that it's better for, you know, the overall growth of the sport. But I definitely am a little less. I'm shifted a little bit on it. We'll say that. Yeah, a little bit.
I'm not saying don't come over. You know, it's just my point on.
A whole team point for sure.
No, you're an absolute legend, my man, and we're so honored to have your story databased here. And I'm sure you've been playing paintball too over the years. It's like you own the team, but you've also played and love the game as well. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean that's why I do it. So I think most of us at this level have played and just fell in love with it, and you just can't shake it off ever, right? So whether you're a player or a field owner or whatever, something's got you in paintball and won't let you go. And that it is for me. So yeah,
it's the best.
So much of that are the relationships, in my opinion, right? It's there's a community here, and you know, you feel like you belong, you contribute. It's an amazing thing that paintball has. You know, like Tyler said, these friendships, you know, with Lucky 15s, and not just Lucky 15s, but your fellow paintball patrons. We're all going to be friends until the end of time. So, you know, it's kind of an irreplaceable thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we can't wait to see you and all the boys out in World Cup soon. You guys be safe, and safe travels on the journey over to World Cup.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me on, and I'll see you soon. And you'll have to come back over again. Stay at the house and
absolutely
8 rooms.
There we go. I'll be back next year. I'm coming over. That's a plan.
Okay, bud.
We have some conversations to have at World Cup.
Okay, let's do it.
Awesome, brother. Thank you.
All right, Ainsley. Have a good day.
Peace. All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please make sure to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment on the video. And if you really, really, really loved it, please head over to ptgpaintball.com. Click the orange Patreon link in the top right corner and become a supporter of the show. If you become a supporter at any level, you will get access to the Discord. If you're not in the Discord, you have been missing out. You can get a 7-day free trial right now. Head over, sign up, sign in, see if you enjoyed. If you don't, cancel. Free, no charges, all good. But if you do love it, it could change your life. All right, everybody, as always, we will see you very soon.